Welcome to a platform where we debate on the top stories of the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, and other leagues with the best in the world of sports. You'll also get interviews with many athletes and media talents at several basketball events, including the WNBA and college basketball. My name is Rafiq Ulazon, and this is Nothing But That Sports Talk.
They'll take this down. Ionescu with 4 to shoot. Ionescu creates separation. She makes it. Are you not entertained? Sabrina Ionescu.
Up 3, rather.
They have 1 to give. 2 seconds for Thomas. Harris at the horn. It's blocked by Ionescu. And New York wins.
Blocks. They're huge. Look at this lineup. The smallest person is Sabrina.
Ionescu, splash! Ionescu being hounded by Carter. Gives it up to Stewart. Gets it back. Long range 3. Got it!
Yeah, the New York Liberty are lining up on the way towards being the top seed in the WNBA. As I welcome to this episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk, Rafiq Ulazon alongside Julia Moss, somebody who actually works for New York Liberty in the PR department and was actually in the WNBA finals with me last year. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, now I'm glad to have you on the show. And first off, congratulations on coming within the capstone of graduating Fordham University with a master's degree. I understand you got a bachelor's, but you got a master's degree from my alma mater, my PMA program. So, yeah, welcome to the PMA alumni family, Julia.
Thank you. Thank you. I've loved the program. I mean, I did my undergrad at Fordham too. I transferred from the University of Memphis, and it was the best decision I ever made. Fordham is an incredible school, and can't suggest it enough for anyone looking for colleges right now.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned you came from Memphis. I mean, when you came to Fordham University, exploring the whole New York environment, not just as a student, but as a human being, like, what impressed you the most about New York City, especially the Bronx and Rose Hill?
Oh my gosh, it's such a loaded question because there's so much to talk about. I mean, Memphis is an incredible place. I mean, if you know me at all, like I always talk about how much I love Memphis, but New York was always a dream for me. I've always wanted to live in New York, but I did 2 years at Memphis with the hopes to transferred into New York City school after 2 years, and I was able to do that at Fordham. And moving here, it's so cool because Memphis is awesome, but it's a little slower, obviously, compared to New York City. But New York is everything as far as opportunity for sports, entertainment, and that's what I wanted, and that's what I got here, especially at Fordham with FUV and stuff. It truly has been the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah, I understand that. And coming from somebody that actually went through the WFUV training during the 1 year he was at the PMA program, like, what are some of the, like, doing the postmortem, so what is the one thing that you taught yourself and the students that you was working with before you got to where you are into your senior year and your grad year, being the student manager told you as far as what you had to work on in order to get where you are right now and get those opportunities?
Yeah, confidence, 100% confidence. When I came into FUV, I just wanted to be a producer. I never wanted to talk into a microphone because I didn't think I would be good at it. But immediately, the sports manager during my first year was Alex Woles, and he was like, you just have to have the confidence because you could be really good at this. And that is something that I focused on the past few years. And, I ended up broadcasting Fordham women's basketball, being a reporter for, the New York Liberty, the New York Jets, things like that. So without having that confidence instilled in me and being told to me that, that's something I need to work on, and if I did work on that, I could actually do this for a living. I don't know where I would be today. And it's just the coolest thing ever to, have that growth as an on-air broadcaster and a reporter, and the confidence level from, where I am now from 3 years ago is just absolutely night and day.
Oh, okay. What year did you came to Fordham University as a transfer after 2 years at the University of Memphis?
It was during COVID. So COVID hit my freshman year, and then that second year was kind of the year everything was online. So I had the chance to really think about the options I had and actually think about making the move. A lot of that time was spent, going through the transfer process. So COVID was definitely terrible for a lot of reasons. But the one thing I will say I took from it is the time to be able to really think and get through that process, because transferring colleges is not an easy process at all. I know anyone who's done it would say the same thing. But yeah, 2021 was the year I transferred to Fordham. So that 2021-22 year was my junior year, my first year at Fordham.
Okay. So you actually experienced it all. I mean, when you came, obviously that was around the time where we had to go through the training process for that 1 year just to even get to think about covering the Oakland Liberty for WFUV when you were given the opportunity. So yeah, I remember when I did my 1 year there was a time where I kind of stuttered a lot and I was kind of like making a lot of mistakes. There was even some production mistakes I make on my end where sometimes, it's just a long story. I'm sure Gigi will tell you all about it because I remember Gigi will tell you all about it because she was in the WFUV workshops with me when I came to Fordham University and she was a college freshman.
Yeah, but I mean the best part about FUV though is that you have the freedom to make those mistakes. It's not a situation where it's like if you come into FUV and you have confidence issues or stuttering issues, it's not something you feel bad about. It's a very welcoming environment and it's just a place where everyone wants to get better. So the freedom to be able to make those mistakes and get better from them is something I think that sets FUV apart. Just the atmosphere and the overall energy that everyone has, that everyone wants everyone to be the best they can, and that's something that I certainly benefited from quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on now. You're learning like 5 different roles: updates, host 1, host 2, production, engineering. Like with all these 5 roles, like what are some of the things you had? What are some like your strongest and your weakest the whole 2 years or 3 years rather at WFUV?
It's a great question. I think coming in, production was my first love. So I was a supervising producer after my first year, which was really cool to go from being a trainee to a leadership position. I loved producing so much. And then through being sports manager, you're kind of tasked to do everything. You're the leader of every aspect of it. So it was a great chance for me to get to know the technical side of things. I think that's still like my weakest spot is like you have to fix computers and fix radio transmission things and stuff. And that's something, even as I was finishing my last year, I was like, I don't know if I know all of this. I don't know if I could fix everything here, but I certainly learned a lot about stuff that I didn't even know could be learned about. But yeah, the thing that I think I was best at was definitely the production side of things, the broadcasting and the on-air stuff. That certainly came along, but production was definitely like the best, the thing that I focused the most on throughout my entire time.
Hey, I mean, we all been there. We all started there. And then look who we are right now. I mean, you're working for SNY, you're working for the Oakland Liberty. I'm independent media for nothing but that sports talk. And I even got a chance to cover some Florida games, some games at LIU Brooklyn, and even the Liberty during the WNBA finals where I met you for the first time. And you was blown away when I told you I went to school with Gigi. I'll never forget the reaction. I was like, wait a minute, you Julia Moss from WFUV. Nice to see you around.
Yeah, I mean, the FUV family it runs so deep. It's really incredible. Like you never know who you're gonna run into. You think of the big people like Mike Breen, Ryan Rucco, and then the generation, it just keeps bringing more and more talent. Like Gigi is absolutely incredible. Madonna wasn't in FUV, but she went to Fordham, so she's still in that lineage. And she's doing incredible stuff right now. And yeah, it's really fun because you get a lot out of FUV, but you also get, just absolutely just a family of people who, are probably going to be successful because of how great the program is. So that's, it really is just wins all around for FUV.
Yeah. And I got to say, I'm proud of you. You managed to learn so much during the brief 3 years. I mean, 2 years of grad, the last 2 years of undergrad, and the 1 year of grad in a short period of time to be established as you are and getting all these opportunities. Like and that's all pretty much I could say about that.
Listen, I appreciate it. It's really just a reflection of how much you can get out of FUV in 3 years if you work hard and put your mind to it. And if it's your top priority, it's not just, talent will come with a lot of dedication, I think is a big thing. And when you put yourself in a position to learn, and FUV is absolutely that position to learn. So that's something, it's really more of a reflection than FUV than myself, I think, because the training program, you can get so much out of it in 3 years. And I just tried to absorb as much as I could. And I think, I was able to do that.
Hey, I had to absorb as much as I could when I went there for WFUV, that your grad program. I mean, I came into school at the graduate LIU Brooklyn with a journalism degree following 3 years. I mean, it was supposed to be 4, but I took some summer classes and I fast tracked to graduate in just 3 years.
Nice.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. And then when I came in, having to go to the practice. I mean, I had to join both departments, both news and sports, because like it's kind of tough to choose between the two, because I wanted to be a sports commentator and a play-by-play, but I like the news department. So it's tough to pick between the two. You made it easy for yourself choosing sports over news, because you knew sports is something that you wanted to do.
Yeah, the news department is incredible too. I mean, there's a lot of overlap between the news and sports departments. They do a sports segment on their daily podcast. So that's something I was able to do as well and get to know the news department, and the stuff they do is absolutely incredible too. You really can't go wrong with, any facet you choose. And for someone like yourself, I know a few people also who have done sports and news, and the opportunities you get to just get all sides of it from just an incredible program is really awesome. So the fact you did that is really cool, because I know that time management had to have been like a lot to do both.
Not when all your classes are like in the nights, like seriously.
True.
I mean,
Fair.
not when you have to do 3 or 4 classes for one semester, 3 to 4 classes like this second semester, then capstone the summer after, and and that's pretty much how it is with the PMA program. And while we're on the subject of capstones, that Rise to Women's Sports series that you're doing, was that part of the capstone, or is it your own thing?
It's a little bit of both. It's definitely going to be what I use for my capstone project, but post-graduation, I was thinking like, what can I do now? A lot of all the content I was making was for FUV, and I fell in love with the idea of making content and really interviewing people. Like, I love doing interviews. I love getting the perspectives of different people around, not only sports, but, really just anyone. I just love getting perspectives from people. So I knew that the interview route is something I wanted to go with. And obviously, the way women's sports is being perceived right now, and the incredible increase in popularity has been awesome. As a lifelong women's sports fan myself, I played soccer and basketball growing up. So, watching the NWSL, watching the WNBA before people were really talking about it was something that I lived through. And it's so cool to see how, the popularity has increased now. And it is something that I definitely wanted to dive more into and talk to people about. And I've done 3 interviews so far, and each perspective has been really, really awesome. So I'm really happy I did it. But yeah, it's mostly for my own thing, but I am using it for my capstone project, for my final project for my master's.
You have to. I mean, it takes a lot of thinking, a lot of strategic, and a lot of focus to come up with a capstone. I did my capstone talking about WFUV and why students want to join something about why students want to join WFUV. And damn, I'm kind of blinking out what we're talking about. Yeah, why people join WFUV. I've had Jack Curry. I've had news anchor for WCBS News. Let's see. Of course, Bobby C, the music director, and yeah, I even interviewed the late Marissa White, who used to be the creative director for Bronx Net, where I interned at during my 1 year at that school. So yeah, getting to know the Bronx as a Fordham student is something you can't get past, and being able to create your own documentary talking about why people joined WFUV and what it did for their careers. That's something that you need to think about when you're doing the capstone project, Julia. And I'm proud of you for coming up with the Rise to Women's Sports, because you're talking to Dexter, Idona, and Gigi. You better be thinking about talking to me, Ari, and a few other people that cover women's sports almost as long as Gigi, almost as long as Dexter, and a lot longer than Gigi and Idona. You better be thinking about that, because if you want to hold on to SY New York Liberty, think about something like that. Go interview the PR guy for the New York Liberty to bring him on. He knows a lot about the New York Liberty. He's been a PR guy since 2020 during the bubble year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll have whoever on that's interested. Those are definitely a lot of really great people that I respect a great deal. So yeah, I mean, we're early into it. Only 3 interviews so far. I definitely want to get into, 10 plus. We'll see what happens. It's very much like I'm learning as I go kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, the people you named are really, pioneers of the WNBA reporting sphere. So yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting point. All right. Now, as far as doing those interviews you did for Rise of Women's Media, what do you think that Idona, Gigi, and Dexter educate you on in terms of women's sports from their own perspective?
Yeah, I mean, each perspective is so unique, because you look at, Gigi and Dona are both former Division I sports players, so they have that perspective of being a player, being a women's athlete, and also being in the sphere. But they differentiate because Gigi is more on the content creation, more on the reporting side, and Adona is the color analyst for the Connecticut Sun. So I think a lot of things that I learned from them were like from Gigi, you know, the reception to women's sports has been a lot better through her content creation. You know, you think about if you were to post something about the WNBA 3 years ago, it's going to be a lot of misogynistic and sexist comments. Unfortunately, that was just the truth of the matter. And you still see that today, but it's a lot more of like people wanting to learn about the WNBA. And that's something she mentioned, and that's something I've observed myself as well. So it was really cool hearing from an actual content creator who has to actually, you know, put her content out and deal with that kind of stuff, maybe that backlash, but the backlash is becoming less and less. So that was really cool to hear about. And then from Dexter, he's been reporting for the Liberty for a while, so he's been able to see that growth and that popularity grow. But and with Dexter, I think, you know, the biggest thing I learned from him is just the fact that the play on the court has always been really good. The medias are the people that, you know, ESPN, NBC Sports, you know, the people who have the eyes, they're the ones who've had to catch up to the WNBA, not necessarily the play on the court. And that was a really unique and interesting perspective that I 100% agree with, because it's not a sense of like, all of a sudden the WNBA is so good. All of a sudden, you know, the play is so much better in these past 2 years. That's just not the case. The greats of this game from 10 plus years ago were just as good. It was just as entertaining. So that's something that I definitely learned from, you know, the course of those interviews.
Exactly. And you had to learn that. And I was told the same thing, you know, the people I interviewed that covered the WNBA. I mean, it took me till just literally 2020 to cover my first WNBA finals. And it was virtual. And it took me just 2023 when the Liberty got as far as they did to cover it in person for 2 games. I mean, obviously, the first one, I think it was Miles Grossman that covered game 3, but you got to cover game 4, which is a series clincher. And yeah, speaking of, remember when Cindy Colson put you on the spot, pretend to impersonate you? Remember that moment after the Aces finished off on the Oak Liberty in get game 4, only because Courtney Vanderbilt missed that 2-point shot. Remember that moment?
Listen, I'm never gonna forget it. It was so surreal. My heart was pumping so fast because, you know, she was on Instagram Live right after winning a WNBA ring. Of course, there's a ton of people on her live, and she's sitting right next to me, putting me on her Instagram Live, asking me for her credential. And I was like, of course, Sydney Colson asked me for my credential. I'm going to give it to her 100%. And that moment was so cool. Like her saying my name, saying I'm Julia Moss from FUV Sports. It was so funny. And I have so much respect for her as, you know, both a player and a content creator, because, you know, being a professional athlete is very difficult. It's very time consuming, and that goes without saying. But the stuff she's been able to do outside of just her playing career to highlight women's sports is something I respect so much, just 100%. So the fact that, you know, she was not only sitting next to me, but asked for my credential, that moment, you know, I will be telling that story until the day I die. It was just absolutely incredible and so much fun.
Yeah, and your first day back at Fordham University, WFUV, after that moment, like, was there any just conversations about that moment with the guys that you work with?
Yeah, there's definitely some jokes tossed around saying that I'm Hollywood now, because that tweet I put out did some numbers too, because you know, and also like a bunch of outlets picked up the video, you know, Together, ESPNW, things of that nature. So yeah, there were definitely some jokes, but overall people were just happy for me for that moment, because being a student reporter, you don't really get moments like that all too often. And just the fact I was at a WNBA finals press conference, you know, watching Asia Wilson talk about winning a ring was incredible in itself, but that moment just made it so much better. But yeah, no, definitely some funny conversations afterwards, because it was just a funny moment. It was really, really cool.
Exactly. And you got to experience how the Aces players. I mean, Ron Howard wanted to let the players go, but then the players like, no, we're taking more questions. I mean, and you seen Ron Howard that was on me for always raising my hand too much when I'm trying to ask the players questions at press conferences. He came to me, had a conversation about that the Aces had to shut everything down. He's like, nah, son, I want everybody to interview me. I mean, I raised my hand up for Angel Wilson. She was like, yeah, Rafiq. And then you heard obviously you were there when I asked her that question. And she talked about how proud she was to win a championship. She knew the assignments.
Yeah, and that press conference was absolutely chaos in the best way possible. It was so much fun. I'm all about giving, you know, power to the players, especially in moments like that. Like if they want to have fun, if they want to, you know, lead the press conference themselves. They just earned a WNBA championship. They should be able to do whatever they want. And that's what happened. And it was created so much funny content and just a really fun experience. I'm happy it shook out the way it did, even though it was, not like a normal press conference. But when you win a ring, it shouldn't be like a normal press conference. So I was very, very happy with the experience overall.
Yeah, and to add on to it, you're talking to a guy who actually had an interview with Diana Taurasi, got reposted on Overtime Women's basketball page after Mercury lost Game 3 in the finals. I asked her, the team was held to 50 points. She shot at 50. I didn't even get to finish my question before she shot at 50. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, she's another incredible personality in the WNBA. Yeah,
the Mercury did go on to lose that series, but Diana Taurasi, oh my gosh,
she's hilarious. That's another thing about the WNBA that's so fun, and like why I'm so confused why the media took so long to like put the game on the TV and push storylines, because these athletes have incredible personalities. Like they're just fun to follow as people, even outside of the actual game of basketball. So that's something we're seeing more and more now, that it's getting seen more and more. But it just makes you think, like, man, if this had been happening 5-10 years ago, where could we be now? But I'm happy it's happening at all. But the marketing of these athletes is absolutely, something people are taking advantage of now, but should have been, looking into a while ago.
Yeah, and also there's one where earlier on that day, Kelsey Plum earlier on that day, I'm talking about Game 4 of the WNBA Finals last year, was it Kelsey Plum came to me talking about she saw this Liberty cat right over here. This Liberty cat right over there. She came to me talking about she saw that. She was like, I don't know. After I told the players good luck and win tonight. And she was like, I don't know, man. And then I just ignored it and told her good luck. And she was like, man, get out of here. Oh, I was like, oh God. Alexa was like, yo, can you calm down?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I hope you lose. And the Aces end up winning. Oh man. Obviously the players know who I am because I've been on the Aces Zoom calls a lot. I don't just cover the New York Liberty. As much as I go hard for New York, I cover other teams too.
You do it all.
Yeah. All right, now we get to the next topic. Of course, New York Liberty won the last 2 games after suffering upset loss at Indiana to get the #1 seed. They're a game and a half ahead of the Connecticut Sun for the top spot in WNBA standings. What are your thoughts about the way New York Liberty built off of last year's loss? And what does it tell you about how hungry you are to get the job done?
I mean, I said at the end of last year, I talked a lot about this New York Liberty team on the other side of that finals loss. They just need more time to play together. I think it's unrealistic to think that you could bring a super team together and win immediately, because as good as these players are, they have to learn each other's tendencies. And you saw them get better as the season went on. But this season, you're seeing the real product of that time together. They're playing like a complete and full team. Of course, it's a long WNBA season. You're going to have certain games where you're just not on it. But all in all, this team isn't looking like another finals team. They're better than they were last year. They're more complete. Each player is doing their role so well. And I think the big thing for me is that it doesn't have to be like a heroic performance from any specific player. As long as each player is doing their specific job, they can beat any team in this league. So it's been a lot of fun to watch the Liberty this season because they're playing so well. So yeah, as far as, I'm not going to make any crazy predictions, but I would be surprised to not see them in the finals this year, just based off of, how they're playing so far. They really are just a complete team so far.
Even though there are some teams that can give New York Liberty a challenge. Heck, Indiana gave them a challenge. Minnesota beat them twice, one of them being at the Commission's Cup. The Aces, even though the Aces, they start off average, but with Chelsea Gray back, they're going to give New York Liberty a challenge. Connecticut gave the Liberty a challenge, even though we beat them twice all the way up to Connecticut already. But we can't sleep on the fact that there are going to be some competitive teams that are coming after New York Liberty, knowing that they're going to be the team to beat. And of course, they do so well because of good ball movement and better shooting. The bench that they've had literally exceed my expectations after Maria Johannes and Han Chu left. Maria Johannes was one of the top bench players in New York Liberty the past few seasons. With her out the way, Leonie Phoebus is knocking down shots. Kayla Thornton got a chance to shine. So yeah, they've knocked down shots, and you've seen it come together in the wins last night against the Chicago Sky and the Connecticut Sun. Now, with that being said, And I asked this on WNBA Countdown to Carolyn Peck, and she kind of said that the Liberty are more concerning because they go as far as John Cole Jones. Do you agree with her?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
I said that I asked Carolyn Peck and Johnny Robinson on WNBA Countdown that which team that suffered upset is more concerning, the Liberty Aces or the Connecticut Sun. And she told me that the Aces, she said that the Liberty are more concerned. Do you agree with that? And she said the Liberty are more concerning because of John Cole Jones' play, and they go as far as John Cole Jones go.
You mean concerning as like
concerned about how far they're going to go in the playoffs when
it
comes around?
I would agree only because the Aces, they won last year and they brought back all the pieces besides Candace Parker. I mean, this is a team that struggled a little bit at the beginning of the season, but as far as playoff basketball goes, I'm still, if I'm the Liberty, I'm still scared of the Aces because you couldn't beat them last year. You've gotten a little bit better. And I want to talk about the bench a little bit for the Liberty because that's something Jonathan Kolb said that was the #1 priority for the Liberty is revamping that bench piece. And you make a good point that the bench has looked a lot better this year. So props to, him and Sandy Brondello and the whole, Liberty team for really revamping, doing what they set out to do. And it's actually working now. I think last year it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that the Liberty and the Aces were going to meet in the finals. And again, like the popular belief was that the Aces were going to win. And that's exactly what happened. This year, I think it's a little bit in the same vein, but I think it's a little closer. I think the Aces still should be the favorites to win the WNBA finals this year just because they won last year and really have brought back the core of what makes them so good. And then they add like a Kate Martin who's done really outperformed my expectations. I didn't think she was making a roster coming into this year. And not only has she, but she's performed pretty well. It's hard to bet against A'ja Wilson with the way she's playing. She's the best player in the WNBA and really cementing herself as one of the best players of all time. So it's hard to bet against them, but I think it's a lot closer. I think the Aces are going to have to deal with a lot more than they did last year as far as, a more complete team from the Liberty. I would say if you're talking about like concern negative, like if you're concerned about their performance, I would be more concerned about the Liberty than the Aces, but it's really close. These are two amazing teams, and I'm excited to see the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I'm excited, especially if the Liberty are going to open up their playoff run against either Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese, two of the best rookies statistically in the WNBA in 2024. And while we're on the subject, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, which of these players impressed you the most? Angel Reese, 15 straight double-doubles, or Caitlin Clark, a triple-double against the top seed in New York Liberty and the finals runner-up last year?
It's so tough just because of how good both of these players are. They are so fun to watch, and they're both great in different ways. I think Angel Reese, you can't argue with 15 straight double-doubles. That shows excellence on both sides of the ball. Like she's been able to get points and also rebounds, but a triple-double, first time a rookie getting one ever, is also an incredible, insane stat. So you're comparing two, really generational rookies. And for me, I think Caitlin Clark is going to win because, partly because of the name, partly because her role is a scorer, so she's going to score more points. But I think the conversation should be a lot closer than it is. A lot of people are, if you mention any name other than Caitlin Clark for Rookie of the Year, it's like you've just said something absolutely insane. I think Angel Reese has made her case. And any other year that Caitlin Clark is not in the WNBA and not in this rookie class, I think Angel Reese wins the Rookie of the Year. But because Caitlin Clark is in this class and because her role is so important on this specific Indiana Fever team, I think you're going to see her win this year.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to disagree with you because it's phenomenal what Caitlin Clark is. You can't beat 15 straight double-doubles by Angel Reese. Not to mention Angel Reese defeated Caitlin Clark in the national championship in 2023. You can't beat that.
I mean, look, you got a good point. I'm rooting for Angel Reese to win. I'm just being realistic here. I think the voters are going to see the points and the name, and it's going to be too much to overcome to give it to Angel Reese. I hope Angel Reese wins. I think she's had a fantastic year, but If I had to, I'm not a betting person, but if I did put money on it, I would have to say it's probably going to be Caitlin Clark, but I hope it's Angel Reese.
Yeah. Okay, I'll admit. Caitlin Clark has a shot. She gave you Sabrina Ionescu vibes. She gave me Stephen Curry vibes. We get it. But Angel Reese, double machine, but in the ability, in the shot blocking ability, her aggressiveness, she has that dog mentality that she said in the post game after the win against Indiana Fever. She has that post game mentality. We can't get past that. I mean, yeah, you're teamed up with Camila Cardoso, who won a national championship with South Carolina 2 years, like 2 times the last 3 years. But let's not forget, Angel Reese is your top prize rookie over Camila Cardoso. Even though Camila Cardoso was drafted for a higher, although let's be honest, they should. If you knew you were going to add Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese to the same team, you should have probably added Angel Reese first because statistically, she's the talk of the team. Camila Cardoso is not the talk of the team. If she played for any other team, she probably would have been the talk. But right now, Angel Reese has changed the whole dynamic of the Chicago Sky. And they may not have a Cinderella run to the finals like they did with Candace Parker, Courtney Vandersloot, Ali Quigley, and Kalia Cabo was there. But you're slowly but surely getting back, especially when you're being coached by New York Liberty great and Teresa Witherspoon. You can't get past that dynamic, Julia Moss. And that's something, if you're going to be working in sports for a very long time, that you need to have knowledge about when you're picking between 2 rookies. I mean, Caitlin Clark is great. I get it. But don't sleep on Angel Reese. She knows what she's doing. She has the aggressiveness and toughness. She may not give you a 30 ball every night, but she can knock down a 3-point shot. She can shoot inside and out.
Listen, I'm not sleeping on Angel Reese. I hope she wins. She's an all-around incredible player, and her mentality. She impressed me so much in the pre-draft interview. She said she wanted to be back at the bottom. She wanted to work her way back up. She had another year of eligibility in college and decided not to use it because she wanted to, be at the bottom again. And I respected that so much. And I think you're seeing her play really reflect that mentality. She's gotten better game by game by game, 15 straight double-doubles. We've said it 100 times at this point, and we should say it 100 more times because that kind of stat for a rookie is absurd, just absolutely insane. So again, I hope she wins. I think she's the more deserving player, but I just don't know if other people agree with us. But I do think she is deserving of that Rookie of the Year title, and I think Chicago is building something. Are they going to compete for a WNBA title this year? No, but they're building something right now that is going to last a long time. This is only Angel Reese's first year. Camila Cardoso, she started off with injury. This is only her first year. They're only going to get better year by year by year. So Chicago is going to be a team that, is not super scary at this exact moment, but they are going to be in that conversation for years to come. And I think that's super exciting for Chicago.
Yeah, it's super exciting indeed. And to wrap up this conversation about the dynamic of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, I mean, if you were a New York Liberty fan and somebody working there, would you want Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever or Angel Reese Chicago Sky in round 1 of the WNBA playoffs by the time we get to September, October?
Oh man, for this specific roster, I think we've got scoring covered. The Liberty, they got Brianna Stewart, they got Sabrina Ionescu. I don't really know where Caitlin Clark fits in there. As far as just talent, I don't care what team you are. You don't say no to Caitlin Clark. But rebounding, defense, I think that's specifically what this team needs right now. So I think I'd have to go Angel Reese. Just on first thought, I think I'd go Angel Reese. But again, Caitlin Clark is a generational scorer. I think you're happy with either of them, honestly. It's a tough question because the Liberty are already so loaded in so many different areas. But I think Angel Reese specifically fits the Liberty a little bit better. That's my answer.
Yeah, fair enough. I want Angel Reese in round 1. I don't want to play Indiana. We'll beat them up real easily. I want Angel Reese in round 1.
Yeah. Oh, if you're talking about who I'd rather play in round 1, I thought you were asking who I'd rather have on the team. Who I'd rather play in round 1. I'd rather play the Fever in round 1. They have Caitlin Clark, but outside of Caitlin Clark, it's tough. And I question some of the coaching decisions from the Indiana Fever's head coach. I think structurally, they have Aaliyah Boston, they have Caitlin Clark, but outside of that, I think they're a very beatable team, especially in the playoffs. Chicago's scary because, you saw it last night. They were up by as many, I think, as 10 points at one point. The Liberty ended up coming back and winning soundly, but Angel Reese-Catilin, Camila Cardoso, Mabry. I mean, they've got a lot of talent on that Chicago team. I'd much rather play Indiana round one than Chicago.
Okay, I'll live with that. I can live with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now let's get to the conversation talking about Team USA basketball. Going up, like, when you look at this USA roster, like, what impressed you the most? Do you think that they have the pieces to repeat as gold medalists again when the Olympics go to Paris?
100%. I think it's not really even a question. You look at, the way that basketball is in the Olympics, the U.S. really has a pretty, steady hand on cleaning house pretty consistently, both on the men and women's side. And this roster, I mean, women's basketball is in such a good place right now. The talent is incredible. And a lot of that talent is American talent. So when you're looking at this roster, I know you're thinking, man, Caitlin Clark, I can't believe she wasn't initially named, but it's just so good. This is such a good roster. I can't imagine, any team really competing in that sense. I'm more excited for the U.S. women's national team on soccer. I think that's going to be more of a competition. But yeah, no, for basketball, this is a great team, a lot of generational talent, a good mix of, young talent and, veterans. I think that's super important when you're building a team like that, when you're playing with a bunch of players who don't normally play together. This is a team, but this is not a team that consistently plays together. You need to have veteran voices and young talent to balance each other out. And I think this roster does, a pretty good job at that.
Exactly. And I should know this because I covered the USA practice when it came to the ball, Brooklyn at the Balkan Center earlier this year. I mean, me and Gigi and Dexter actually witnessed this USA team come together, and they wasted no time getting their chemistry together, improving their ball movement, their teammate skills, and Diane Taurasi providing leadership and being a comedian by chanting Caitlin Clark to Kelsey Plum around the time where she was about to surpass her in the all-time scoring list for the women's side. Diane Taurasi is very entertaining that day too. And there were a lot of conversations going on with the WNBA around that time, not just with the USA women's basketball, but also the Stephen Curry versus Sabrina Ionescu three-point shootout challenge. Like, do you want to see more of that in the WNBA version of the All-Star break this month?
Of course. I mean, the Sabrina Ionescu, Steph Curry, that created a lot of really positive dialogue for women's basketball. I think people really were expecting it to be not very close because Steph Curry is the best shooter of all time. They're shooting from an NBA three-point line, whatever. Whatever excuse you could have put in Sabrina Ionescu's way, it didn't matter because she still performed incredibly. I think that year she would have tied for the winner of the actual NBA three-point competition. And, this is something I expected to see. I know Sabrina, I've seen her play a lot. I knew she was going to do well, but having that kind of competition in an NBA atmosphere that's drawing a lot of NBA fans, it opened up a lot of eyes to how good women's basketball players are. So anything that kind of drives home that point is something I am all about and would love to see something like that in the WNBA All-Star game. 100%.
Yep, 100% indeed. All right, well, that'll conclude this episode of Nothing But That Sports. Thank you for stopping by, Julia Moss, and congratulations on graduating Fordham again, and can't wait to see what you do for SNY and the New York Liberty. And I hope you get invited to the New York Post by Dexter one of these days, and the producer for New York Post. I believe her name is Emmy, but yeah, I know you're going to get that invite one day. Dexter will be calling, so yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
For Rafiq Lewis on Julia Moss, we'll see you next time. I mean, vice versa, but yeah.